Welcome to the pod. Coss here is the founder of Conbody, a prison-style bootcamp, and CONBUD, a newly launched cannabis business that is the world's first and only dispensary ran and operated by formerly incarcerated individuals. He's the co-founder of nonprofit Second Chance Studio, which delivers economic empowerment to formerly incarcerated individuals by employing and training them in digital media. He has been featured on Forbes, Inc. magazine. He's graced the TED Talk stage multiple times. He's the author of Conbody book, a guide for real world fitness and solutions, and the story of his life and the business that started it all. And the accolades go on and on. Most importantly, he's a good friend and mentor of mine. So we are happy to have you on the Activate Your Audience pod, man. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, man. So I wanted to have you on because, we both believe in the power of activating, I think, the most important audience, which is ourselves. And how a lot of that same process sheds light on our brand communication, the experiences we design, whether it's within Conbody Studio or the activations that we do for our clients. So I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of that. I guess what would be your first take on how rewriting your narrative and building experiences, whether it's with Conbody, CONBUD, everything and anything else that you've seen, how do those two relate for you, and what can you, riff on in terms of those?
I think, a lot of people have a lot of ideas, when it comes to business and they feel like they have a solution to solve a problem that they're facing at that moment. But most people don't react to that, or don't feel the burning desire that they need to do something about it. And so, being locked up myself and doing all the time and losing weight in prison was like just a personal journey that I went through, and I felt like I could share to the world and give back, and just sitting in my cell thinking that I could do this, fitness program when I came home and share it with with the public was an idea and a burning desire that I had to do it, as I been through so many different projects. When I think about something, I do, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, but usually today nowadays, I'm doing the right thing. So I'm walking the right path. But, that I think that's what separates, people from being an entrepreneur is like really taking that risk and just go all in. And I'm not saying like quit your day job and, go start a business, but I had to work and hustle on the side and clean apartments and do everything, but I still did my side hustle and it became my full-time hustle, And so, yeah, I mean, that's where the journey begins in terms of, putting something out there and really committing to it, and on the brand side is the same.
That's so true. Yeah, I mean, that initial thing, regardless of where we come from or what even our audience is experiencing, there has to be this behavioral change, right? As we know, anything that requires, whether it's an app or a drug or a badass boot camp or any experience, there needs to be these certain, I guess, triggers to it to create that, which is the motivation, the trigger itself, and then a sort of opportunity to change behavior. And so it sounds like, one, yes, all of us want the same thing. We all want wealth and love and health. But the difference in terms of what separates the reality and what separates the dream from action is being activated. And in the same thing, when we think of somebody coming into Conbody or into CONBUD or interacting with any of businesses or experiences, there needs to be something that we, from the side of our offering, are activating within them. But it won't start until obviously we do that from within us. So, I think with the journey that we started on, I was discussing before the call of one of the first exercises when I first met you that you put me on to was this idea of narrative rewriting. And as somebody that came from, the brand world, more in like the fashion and the creative space, stories obviously were always what drew us in, right? The Jay-Z lyrics, the movies, the comic books, the whatever were stories. But then it was this shift of like an aha moment where I was like, oh, I can rewrite my story. And years later, as I've shifted that, and as all of us, again, as professionals, getting to the next level of entrepreneurial journey, whether it's learning, not just the business, but managing other people, learning how to deliver a great offer, learning how to build partnerships, legitimate this time, right? Or just getting to the next level of the rung, there's this constant, I think, rewriting of the narrative. And again, it plays two roles for the individual to, you just recently had a baby, and like a new motivation has to be plugged in. I think that a lot of people sometimes unconsciously fall into demotivation, or the audience gets bored by the product or the marketing or the experience because there's not a new kind of lever to like introduce the new story narrative. So I don't know. I
Mhm.
feel like, within that journey of writing your story, it's always a re-up on it. There's always a level, because if not, you're not evolving. And we know you're dying if you're not evolving, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, even with the baby right now, I mean, it's been a tricky situation to manage. Three organizations and just bringing her everywhere, and bringing life. I think she's like another business. So it's just
100%.
I'm changing diapers in law firms. That's my life right now.
Love it.
Seriously.
So let's shift gears a little bit. So, and again, we're keeping this kind of personal, right, in terms of our stories and the individual, but obviously we are aiming in terms of marketing and our brands to drive awareness, right? To disrupt and to create stories and experiences that help our audience be activated. So I want to talk a little bit about this design of experiences, as you've done with the studio, right? You go into Conbody, and it's not like any other studio. Even with what you're building with ConBud, it's not going to be an experience like any other dispensary. It's going to be unique for that reason. But merging again stories and kind of the shock of getting out of this norm, of letting the audience know or letting ourselves know that here is something new, here's something that is not your day to day thing. And even if this becomes your day to day thing, here's something that actually brings you into the present moment. Obviously, in combat, it's your Instagrammable experience or just a trainer that's like driving you and pushing you and has an amazing story. So, I guess, can you talk a little bit about how narratives apply in terms of like your business, your day to day life a little bit more, and how you think that activates your audience.
So, one thing that we like really have out there in the studio and the fitness studio is that people are walking in. They see somebody in the front desk that's been incarcerated. They know that everybody there has been employed, has been through the system, whether they've done 5, 10, 20 years. And so that becomes a shock and a perception that is changed right away because they're looking like, this person is going to be a bad person, or, they have this initial perception of this person that's done a lot of time in prison. But then they're greeted, they're welcomed. And when they walk over, to lockers or bathrooms or whatever it is, we have so many informational facts on, the actual, like, mass incarceration, or what's going on with the woman population in prison right now, which is increasing higher than ever. Things of that nature. We have a huge big piece where it says 1 in 3 Black men will be incarcerated, 1 in 6 Hispanic men will be incarcerated, and so on and so forth. It's usually like a white woman that's coming in and reading all this stuff on the wall. So the story and the branding is there. And when the white woman sees that 1 in 115 white women will be incarcerated, they start understanding the disparities and unfairness that the system has really put together in America. And that's part of our branding. We put our stuff on our wall, and our story is there, so whether it's that prison gate that is standing there between you and the class coming in and out, and you walking in through that, it's all the branding that we put there, and then even the fact that we don't use any equipment. You walking into a dead space, most studios, you'll see dumbbells, you'll see, a whole bunch of other stuff. You're walking into a black box, and it's like, all right, this is the black box is part of branding. This is what it is. It's all body
Yeah.
weight, no equipment. We're just gonna get down and get dirty.
Yeah. And there's a beauty to that too, because that's the individual story, and at the core, entrepreneurship and activating yourselves and just business creation is really in the ether, the unknown, placing that bet and using what you have, what cards you've been dealt. In the past, maybe we were dealt certain neighborhoods we were brought up in, certain type of narratives, and even to add a little bit to that, which I was reminded as you mentioned it, like the shock of what you've created, quote unquote shock, is a valuable way to shift something that you and I are too familiar with as marketers, as ex dope boys, like how to get somebody hooked. It doesn't have to be used for negative. How to have somebody be brought into and excited and have some sort of hope in life. Because everybody suffers, right? Like trust fund
Hmm.
baby to famous rappers to tech giants to the guy in the corner to, your bodega guy. Like we're all in this experience. And so we're all looking for a hope. And we're all looking for a change and a shot. And so when you do offer a studio or an experience that gets somebody in alignment with your mission and it's a positive thing, it's going to help them change their body, it's going to help them connect with people, it's going to help them understand about this brand or this product, there's enough of the other happening, right? And it's not just, selling drugs on the street. Like there's a lot of other corporations and apps that benefit off of that addictive compulsive need. And so I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing is as we move forward as professionals, as marketers, as entrepreneurs, knowing the real life lessons, like not just stuff you read, not something you just study of like what it is to have a true depth of knowledge and experience of addiction, of hope, of at every level. It's all relative, right? And then use that for positive. Just like with Second Chance Studio, like the same issue that is folks falling into this recidivism cycle and the value that there is in untapped talent is spinning that on its head. And the same thing as far as when we were marketing, reaching out to, whether it was like the charities or partners to work with Second Chance Studio, or as we pitch our clients, it's almost similar. It's how do we flip some of these concepts and ideas that can be used in any direction, in manipulation or in positive light to deliver value and to kind of keep that flywheel of connection and brand awareness, but also of a positive, you know, Jeff Staple has this saying like a positive social contagion, which I love. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's it's there for me personally. It just comes out organically, and we could think about uh, strategically what we want to build, what we want to form. Yes, I think that comes out great, but when you bring like real sincerity into it, people feel that shit. A lot of
100%.
people, when you go into different shops, you feel like, oh, they're selling me too much. But when you go into a spot and you feel some sort of way, you feel a different energy. And you feel the sincerity of like, all right, like for example, my boy went to like Orange Theory, and or the other day, and he goes in there, takes a class. Right after, they like just attacking him to sign up for
Hounded.
membership. And membership, they get your text messages. They start giving you random calls. You know what I mean? And with us is like, yo, come back if you didn't like this shit. Tell somebody you don't like, and we'll beat them up for you too. So, but if you like us, come back. And if you interested in and be a part of the community, this is how you could do it. And it's not, and people really feel that with us. And then, yeah, I mean, it's just a different approach than just being like very tactical, salesy.
That's true.
You know.
Yeah, that energy definitely is felt, and it reaches across all platforms. So, to just highlight, and we'll end on that note because I think that's a good place to try tie the ribbon. Is it all comes down to intention, but obviously we want to make sure that we are understanding both our internal narrative, how we impact our audience, and how we take advantage in a positive light of that fact, that we can activate people, we can activate ourselves, and it's a constant thing. It's a journey and there's changes. We're looking at AI now and different tools that will always be introduced, but the integrity and the sincerity are always needing to be there. So thanks so much, brother. Where can people learn more about or support, what you have going on today?
Yeah, you can hit us up on Instagram at Conbody. We're launching this new brand, ConBud, NY on Instagram, where, we're looking to launch the dispensary where we can have people that have been formerly incarcerated and really impacted from the world of drugs to work with us and really flip the narrative, build the system by people that's been in the system.
Sure. Love that, man. Well, thank you so much. You've been such an important part of my life and important part of so many people's lives. And the ongoing mission is incredibly inspiring. So much love, brother. Great having you on.
Thank, thank you, Lewis. I appreciate you, bro.